Welcome to the Black Librarians Speak Out portion of the weekend. Thank you for joining us. Just wait a couple more moments as people are joining in with their audio and such. All right, we will go ahead and kick it off. So once again, welcome everyone to the Black Librarians Speak Out session of the Black Writers Weekend 2021. Thank you so much for joining us for this session, sitting in with us Black librarians, and want to hear a little bit about our experience and where we're coming from, and how, even utilizing your local library can assist you in your journey as a writer. So welcome, welcome. Today with me, I have three lovely guests. We have Walani A. Turner, Billy Allen, and we also have Q Goss. So I'm going to toss it over to our wonderful panelists, let them tell you all a little bit about them, a little bit about their experience, and then we can kick our session off. And we will have a time towards the end where you guys can ask questions. So if you all have any questions for any of our panelists, please hold on to them, write them down if you're afraid you're going to forget them, and we'll come back towards the end and we'll leave about 15 minutes for your Q&A. So I will toss it over to our panelists.
So who you want to go first?
You can start.
I'll start. My name is Walani, like Shannon introduced. I am a librarian at the Columbus Lands Public Library here in Columbus, Mississippi. A little bit about myself. Librarianship just kind of fell into my lap. Was not looking to be a librarian. I thought I was too loud to be a librarian. I thought that what I grew up inside of a library was the be quiet type of librarian. I didn't want to do that, but had gone into education. Really wasn't sure if I wanted to be a teacher anymore.
I'm checking that, girl.
President Obama did a stimulus package, and during that time frame, I got placed at the library and got there and fell in love and been there ever since. And it's been a little over 10 years now since I've been at the Columbus Lands Public Library. I slowly moved up the ladder. Like most people, when you get into a position, I started at the circulation just as a regular circulation clerk, and then moved to interlibrary loan and cataloging, which nobody taught me how to do. I just kind of learned. And then finally, I am now the manager of the circulation desk. So I coordinate all of the things circulation. I love the library actually. Didn't think I would, but I thoroughly enjoy my job very much.
That's awesome. I find that most of us that work in the library just found ourselves working there. It wasn't on purpose. Thank you for sharing. I'll toss it over to Billy next.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. I am Billy Allen. I am from Charlotte, North Carolina. I currently work for Broward County Libraries. And it's funny, my current title actually just changed today because today was my last day working at my current library as the assistant manager at Pembroke Pines Library. So Monday, I'm going to be the supervisor of the Youth Services Department at North Regional Library on Monday. So how did I get into librarianship? Very similar to everybody else's stories. I initially was going to be a nurse, and I went back to school at 25. And when my homeboy put me onto the field of librarianship, I took an internship at WashU in St. Louis. I did not know how big the field of librarianship was. So I ended up changing my major to biology with a minor in library science, then went to North Carolina Central to get my MLS. And I've been a librarian for 5 years, started as a youth services librarian in Jacksonville. And then I moved to Broward County as a librarian 1. Then within the next year, I got promoted as a librarian senior. And then 3 years later, I'm now supervisor youth services department. I love giving back to the community. I felt like, never in a million years, I thought I'd be a librarian, but now it fits me. I love engaging with the community. Our job is to give people information. On top of that, I like empowering the youth. And I felt like that's like my role and my passion in life as far as them being a role model and being an advocate of doing something positive and different. And, I just love being it, but that guy I love.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing. If you all are on Instagram, be sure to follow Billy on Instagram. He does such awesome story times on Instagram Live. So definitely check him out. He has some great videos on there and YouTube as well. So definitely if you have kids, check out his story times online. And I will go ahead and toss it over to Q.
Hi everyone, I'm Q. My name is Q-Misha Goss if you're looking for me, but everyone calls me Q. I'm a librarian for the Detroit Public Library. I work in what's known as the Technology, Literacy, and Career Center, and my specialty is technical instruction. What I do is a lot of technical training for seniors and children, teaching them about coding and building programs. I got into librarianship. I've always loved books in the library. My mom took us to the library almost every day when we were kids. But I went to school actually for engineering and then changed my degree to history and classical studies. And I got to study in Italy for a month or two. And while I was in Italy, we went to a lot of museums and archives and libraries. And it really clicked for me that I wanted to be the person to like hold the knowledge at like an institution like that. And that's why I ended up becoming a librarian after, you know, engineering and history and classics. I just thought, I want to be the gatekeeper to that knowledge. And so that's why I transitioned to being a librarian, although all those things on the way, engineering and history and classics, have stuck with me.
Thank you. You had a very interesting journey. That sounds pretty cool. Well, you all have kind of spoke to my first question to kick us off, kind of in speaking how the library has impacted your life personally. But what can you all share with our audience today on what is the importance of libraries and the impact that they can have both individually and communally as well? And if you want to start off, Q.
Yeah. I really think that libraries are like the beacons of like, that's where all the knowledge is held, right? Whether people think about it in that way, there's knowledge in the library, whether it be through accessing databases or computers or the books there, or even the most underutilized thing, which is us, the librarians and the staff there. Like no one thinks about us, but we're there. And when you come there, you can open a new door to something. It's opportunity, I think. And for individuals to come there and like dive deep, you can find something that's special for you. We can help you find if it's just a book special for you. So I think libraries definitely have avenues for individuals. If you feel like you're not fitting into something, this is a place where you can find your way because the resources are there. And for communities, other people probably find this too, but at my library, they think that I know everything about the city and everything about this neighborhood. The library is the community hub. And this is where they come and they tell me, did you know they were fixing that pothole today? And I'm like, not really, but I'll look into it for you, right? Because we're essentially our own community, right? That library is the hub for that, where we come and share information with each other and help lift each other up. So I think that's really important that people know that libraries do that.
Yes, exactly. I like how you said that sometimes people forget about the actual librarians themselves, because I think so many people have such maybe not as up to date or a real holistic view of what the library does nowadays and how we can assist people. And there's, like you said, there's so many resources just ready and willing to assist people. So I think it's always great whenever we can get the word out. And it's always something I tell somebody like on the street or, you know, a friend or family member, they're like, library does that? Or you can do that at the library. So yes, I completely agree. Billy or Wilani, was there anything that you all wanted to add to that about the importance of the impact of the library in the community or individually?
Well, like, I mean, we're the cornerstone to every community. And I think we're one of the few last entities that welcome all walks of life from all different perspectives, regardless of your background, anything. And I think that's the beauty of it. Every library has its own personality. And when you work at a different libraries, you understand that when people come into the library, regardless of the first time coming in or regular, it's always a different experience because they're looking for something. They're coming to the library for a reason. Be it they just want to use the internet, want to look for a job, or the parent looking for things to engage with their children. You know, it's always something that's needed. And it's one of the few places where our sources and resources are for free. I tell people all the time, you can't beat free 99. And I mean, you're a taxpayer. So, you know, I think that is the beauty. And I feel like people are now realizing, I think with libraries and librarians understanding, we were trying to talk about the digital divide, and fortunately, due to the COVID, we was forced to adapt, but we was already preparing ourselves to serve the community. So I just feel like that is so important to continue to spread the word. Like you said, Shannon, every day someone comes in and be like, hold up, y'all do this? Like, we doing a summer learning program, and people don't even know these type of services and programs are there for the families in the community. So it's just dope.
Absolutely agree. Well, Lonnie, was there anything you wanted to add?
Definitely. One of the things that I have learned in this field for so long is that there's a lot of people that do not have access to anything. Most of the time, we spend most of our days helping people with job applications and resumes and social security cards, the things that you would probably do at home if you had the access. Most of the people don't have the access, and I think a lot of people forget that there are not as many fortunate people who have internet at home or who have the access to computers and printers and ink. So we do that mostly all day. I think I have really helped people get through their own education. They come to school and they come to us to get their schoolwork done, or they come to look for a particular school book. So I think the image of a library being just about books has gone away. So those people who don't actually use the library don't understand that we are just not sitting down checking out books and telling people to be quiet. We're actually helping your son or your daughter or your niece or your nephew get a job, find a job, keep a job. We actually at our library have implemented job readiness. So we teach you how to do your resume, your application. We teach you how to dress for it. We teach you how to go, how you talk, what time you need to be there, what you need to wear, what you should not wear. So libraries are so much more than just, I just want to come in and check out a book.
That's very true. And even the point that you made when you first started out about like people having access to do things that we see as simple. I actually had a family member a couple of weeks ago ask me, hey, how's it working in the library? Because they're looking to move from a job that stresses them out. And I was like, oh, it's great. And I was telling them about the different things that we do. And I was like, really, you're just helping people all day complete a task that may seem simple to you or to us, but I told him it means the world to the person that you're helping, because a lot of people, it's not simple for them. So like you said, helping people get access to technology they don't have access to on their own, or teaching someone how to do something. So that's what a lot of our work is it may seem simple to us because we're so used to doing it, and it may seem simple to people that have that background or have the luxury to have, internet and different resources. But to someone who doesn't, it means the world to them. Just the most simple task. Sometimes people are like, "Oh my gosh, thank you. Oh my God, God bless you. God bless you." You're like, I just helped you print a copy of an email that you wanted printed out, but it means the world to them. So that's definitely like one of my favorite parts about the job. So we talked about the importance of the library in the community. What do you all think is the importance for people coming into the library, seeing us, so seeing Black librarians specifically? What do y'all think the importance of that is? And I'll toss it over to Billy.
It is so important for them to see us. Me leaving my current library, we had a partnership with a middle school. We were right across the street from a high school and elementary school. So we're dealing with primarily Black and Hispanic kids. And when they come into the library, 95% of my staff is white. So besides my circ staff, my librarians are all white. My circ staff is African-American, and I'm the only Black male librarian. So, it's important for them. It's like a game within the game. I tell people all the time, when I'm engaging with the community or even the youth, the message hit hard as far as me trying to advocate resources. I feel like you got to sometimes speak people's language in a way. And I feel like I have that connection as far as being a Black male librarian. I don't come in, I don't look like the stereotypical librarian. I come in there wearing the J's, wearing the Gucci belt, wearing the Hermes belt, and they resonate with that. But then when I hit them with, yo, check this out, man. Check out this Brain Fuse online resource so you can get some online tutoring. or, you know, come to this program so you can learn something to do besides play the game. You know, they're going to do that, you know, and then once again, we're talking about outreach and getting communities to come into the library. They're like, hold up, they got people that look like us in the library? You know what I'm saying? Even like my circ staff, they are so helpful as far as recruiting people to come into my programs. You know why? Because they know how to connect with people. And I feel like that's the beauty of libraries. All walks of life coming in, but as far as staff, representation is everything. You know, we know we're in a predominantly white dominated field, and we always gonna stand out. And I know just like for me, I come from, when I was in Jacksonville, I was the only Black male librarian in the whole county. Then come to Broward, it's a lot more brothers. I think this is the like one of the biggest counties that have a lot of brothers. It's like 12 of us, you know? So I feel like that's really dope, and we all connect and, you know, exchange ideas as far as getting the community involved. So like representation is everything.
Thank you. And that's awesome. If you all have 12 black men working as librarians, yeah, as Walani just put it in the chat, that's definitely rare. And I'll go to you next, Walani, if you have anything you would like to add to that question about why is it important for Black librarians to exist?
It's very important. I think when we have our story hour, where the little kids come in, and it's mostly daycare, especially during the summer months, the parents just drop the kids off because they have to go to work, and they walk in, they see a Black lady, because they don't really understand the terminology of a librarian, but they see a Black person standing behind this counter with another white person where they're not used to seeing a Black person. They're really fascinated about the fact, oh, she looks like me. And to reiterate what Billy said is that it's 3 of us in our entire building of a staff of 15. It's only 3 of us, three Black people, 3 Black librarians. And I think inside of our county, there's maybe 1 more, and it's rare to see. So when they see us, they're like, you know, oh my gosh, she looks like me. What do you do? And then when I get the adults that come in, they automatically assume that I am not the manager. So I like very excited to be like, well, can I speak to your manager? I am speaking. How may I help you? And then either you get, oh my gosh, she looks like me as well. Oh, I'm so glad, big up sister. Congratulations that I see you moved up, or I see that they finally have someone that looks like me in this area, or you get the ones that are taken aback. Either way, it's so important to see that there are people that look like us that are in authority that can show you how to do things, and we are not just by the wayside. We are not just support staff. We are not just the janitorial staff. We actually do uphold a higher level, a higher calling, a higher title than what they think that we can. So definitely important to see, and it's rare to see, especially in this field.
Absolutely. Amen to everything that you just said. Q, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Yeah. I'm a little bit spoiled because I'm in Detroit, you know, predominantly Black city. There's a lot of Black librarians. My first library job, my manager was Black, actually African. He's from Senegal. And in the library I work at now, there's 3 librarians. No, 3 Black librarians, 1 white librarian. So like, I'm kind of surrounded by Black librarians. I had the courtesy of growing up with that. And so then when I go out to conferences, then it was kind of like a little bit of like a step back for me, because these people are like, oh, librarians are usually like us. And I'm like, not where I come from. But I think it's important that Black librarians are there because of the thing I was saying about earlier about being the gatekeeper. When resources are held somewhere, right, you want to know that you can get in to access those. And when you don't see anyone that looks like you, it makes it look like those things are not for you. And I think it's important that we're represented in the library because the information at the library is for us. And we need people to be able to see visually, right? You have to go in and dive deep, but we want you to know where you can just look and say, yes, this is for me, I belong here. And I think that's very important to getting someone to go further and learn more. So like we need to be seen. You know, some of us are wanderers and we just go where we want. We're like, we want this thing and we work for it. And some of us need, and sometimes we need assurance. We need to see that there are other people here, that this is a safe space. And I think for us as Black librarians, we do that for so many people just by being there, right? In whatever position you are. And people often think I'm a student. They think they're like, oh, are you here full time? You going back to school? I'm like, no, I'm a librarian with a master's degree. Like, I work for this and I belong here, right? And you have to like stand up for yourself. But I think it's just so important to get people at ease and know that this belongs to them, especially in a public library, right? It belongs to you, but it belongs to your people, and just have that ownership over it.
I think it's intriguing too, because when people find out that you're a librarian, they're so curious. So once again, I always take that opportunity to be an advocate for our field, because people don't know. When they find out, hold on, you got to have an MLS to become a librarian. People don't know this.
No.
Especially we're talking about representation. Growing up, like I never seen nobody that was a Black librarian. You know what I'm saying? Like, so every time I get a chance to talk to people when I'm out and about, when they find out I'm a librarian, it catches them off guard, and I know I got them. So guess what? I always expose them to be like, you know what? You got your library card? You know what I'm saying? You can do this. Rosetta Stones for free. You trying to learn a new language? Oh, childcare. Oh, I got plenty of programs for you. You know, computer literacy, all that. And I think it's the dopest thing, because you got to see the faces when you tell them that you're a librarian. Because like you said, someone said they think it's all about books. It's not. It's not. You know, we help people get information. And, you know, I think the dope thing about seeing us is that we trying to break the barrier. I think the dopest thing about social media since this COVID thing, it seems like all the Black librarians have like all connected. And now we're bringing this force field to attract people into the field. I put on 5 more brothers in a library school that about to get their MLS. You know what I'm saying? Just because I've had conversations with them as far as promoting the field. So, you know, I'm just passionate about it.
Well, that's what you have to have, because that will attract other people in, is that passion. They see that you are so in love with the work that you do. And all of you all brought up really great points. I especially liked your point, Q, about some people will go along their own journeys, their own career path on their own, but some people, they need that push. So like you said, them seeing more people that look like us will give them that push that will say, oh, this is something I can actually do, and making that space feel safe. Like exactly like what you said, making sure that it's a safe space, that when people do get in the field, they feel comfortable with whatever organization it is that they choose to work with. And I'm similar to you, Q. I'm kind of spoiled myself. I live in the DMV region. I'm DC, Maryland, Virginia. I'm in Maryland myself. So it's a lot of Black people here, especially in the area that I live in, which is Charles County, right outside of PG County. And I just realized I didn't even introduce myself. So when I came in, so I am in Maryland. I'm a branch manager as well for Charles County Public Library. So that's where I work. So similar to Q, I am thankfully spoiled in seeing not mainly just white people working in the library. Maryland is a little bit different, where you can have varying positions and not need an MLS. So even though we may not have too many Black people in the field or in my organization with MLS, that's kind of just in general. But I do have the pleasure to work with some awesome Black librarian / librarian staff. So yes, it's awesome. But like Q said, that's not the case for the most part. And when you get out to different states and you go to these different conferences, you do see that, you know, there is color that's lacking. But I want to go to the chat, because Tanya, she made an excellent point when you were speaking, Billy, about the collaboration between public and school librarians and how important that is. I think that's when you were talking about some of the work you do with the youth, Billy. But that leads me to kind of where I want to steer next in our conversation. You know, this is Black Writers Weekend, so I'm sure we have a few Black writers in the room right now. Can you all talk about how you can have a diverse collection, or how you work with your organization to have diverse collection, you know, making sure Black authors, Black writers do get in the collection, and how maybe sharing with some of our writers here, or give an example of how your organization, your particular organization, how they work with Black writers, and how Black writers can go about getting their works into the library. I'll start with you, Wilani.
Right now, when I first started in the library back in 2009, we had an African American section. And then we had one Black author who kind of threw a fit because she felt like it wasn't a privilege to be separated. She felt like it was segregation, which I totally disagree with her. But at the time, she had a lot of authority. So she fussed so much to where we actually integrated this collection again. Well, within the last 6 years, we got a new cataloger who is African American, and she thought it was a great idea that we bring it back. And so we redid it. We put back our African American section. So we have a whole section dedicated to just African American authors. So that is kind of a plus that we have a section that we can go to and just look directly for us in fiction. Now in nonfiction, we don't do that, but we do label all our books with African American stickers saying that this is by an African American author. So it gives us the opportunity to say, hey, are you looking for something specifically by a Black person? Here you go. Here's this section. If you're looking at nonfiction, then you're more than welcome to go upstairs and look on the side of the spine label or on the side of the book, and it shows you a red, black, and yellow sticker that says African American. So we try to push that for people Black and white. You know, hey, there may be something that you may be missing. I have my birthday just passed, and my favorite author wished me a happy birthday, and I was excited. It's Miss Kimberly Lawson Roby. So I push her books just because I like her and I want everybody to like her as much as I do. We also do staff picks. So our staff members get a chance to tell about the books that they're reading. And surprisingly, because I've introduced quite a few African American authors to my coworkers, they have branched out and started reading more. So we put those books out as well. And back to the writer who kind of pitched a fit at the beginning, when she does write, she's an African American author and she's from this area. When she does write, we offer her the venue to speak out about her book, as well as the book signings there too. So it gives her a chance to interact with the community, let people know that she's a Black author in this area and that she is available. So she has a chance to get people out and push her things forward, as well as writing workshops. Right now, we're doing a Writing to Heal workshop, and we have another author, including this lady, and another one that's in area who comes in and they sit with the patrons and they talk about what type of writing style that they like to use or do, and give them an opportunity to write as well. So we kind of have all different avenues open, as well as offering you to be able to donate whatever book you want. However, we do encourage you that if you are a independent author, to at least try to get your Library of Congress classification. That way, when it's easier for us to catalog it, to get it in the system than having to create a new record for it. But we encourage everybody, if you have decided to write a poetry book and you want it in the collection, bring it down. We will definitely put it there because we want everybody to have the equal opportunity to be heard and read.
Awesome. That's great advice. I didn't even know about that last tidbit that you just mentioned about the LLC, the Library of Congress.
It is tough. If you don't have that out there, it is hard to create a record coming from personal experience. So if you have that classification, Library of Congress gives us another build record and we can just pull it in and just drop it in the system and it's done. Whereas we have to kind of go and search to see what you're writing about or talking about. So it's very good. If you can spend a little extra money to get Library of Congress to give you a classification, it's worth it. Trust me.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Q, did you have any additional tips you want to share about how writers can get their items circulating in their local library, or if you want to speak to any about how your organization does its due diligence to ensure a diverse collection?
Yeah. I just want to say, Walani, that it's great information about the Library of Congress. I love my circ department. They know so many things that I can't even function with in the library. All the departments are different. So respect on that. At Detroit Public Library, a thing that we do is our African American book list. So you can Google Detroit Public Library African American book list. We do one every year featuring African American authors and subjects that focus on African Americans. And that list of books is put together by a committee of librarians who are mostly Black. I think there's 2 white librarians on that committee. And we review the books, and then we put this list out every year with bios of the authors. And to get on that list, it's as easy as emailing or talking to any librarian at any system. They will get you in contact with the right committee. So if you come to Detroit or you just email a librarian by finding it on the website, we can get you in contact with the right people for that. But similar to like Wilani, we have like our staff pick section. It's good to be a librarian that gets to order material. Like we haven't spoken about that, but some librarians don't get to order material. And that makes it harder to get these kind of African-American books out. I order all the technology books in our library, and I also order all the graphic novels. So it was great and a challenge to find like African-American like graphic novels and like artists to like feature in our collection. But I think, yeah, we should say that one is you want Black librarians for the reason that they order Black books. Because like Wilani said, you order what you like, right? And so it depends on who your librarian is, because we all do that as librarians. We're supposed to be unbiased, but we order what we like. Let's be real. So, but you can also come in and talk to a librarian. Like I said, first, librarians are the most underutilized resource in the library. Talk to your librarian. If you wrote a book, or even I had a guy come to my library and we took a public speaking course together that we facilitated at the library because he wrote a book and he wanted to promote it. And then later he brought signed copies and we keep his book on our shelves. Like we went through the extra steps with him. So like really creating those relationships with your librarians can get you in the door at the library, because we're people too, right? We like things, we like poetry, we like novels, right? Bring it in and talk to us. And we know what our community likes too. And if our community likes it, you can get in too and build your audience. So build those relationships with librarians and reach out to your library, see what they have to offer to promote you, because I'm sure we have something.
That's awesome that y'all have that list. That's definitely great. I'll throw in my 2 cents because maybe my system does something that maybe some of you all who are writers on here system does as well. We do a local authors collection where we do have a selection committee for that. So, you know, of course, we try to have a diverse group of authors that we pick to add to that collection. And then in conjunction with that collection, pre-COVID, we would also do a local authors reception twice a year, where we have maybe about 18 authors come set up table in our meeting room. They could sell their books at the library. Then they would get up and do like a 2-minute spiel about them and their story to kind of entice people to buy their book. And then we had the collection of their books that could circulate, or people could buy them during the reception. So definitely, if you're a writer, check with your local library system, because they may have some similar programs like that, or like Q mentioned. So definitely talk to your local librarians, you know, build that relationship, because if you want to get eyes on your books, how are people going to see it unless you go out there and start building some relationships? So definitely check with your local libraries. I'm sure they have something for writers, whether it's a local author collection or a Black authors list like the Detroit Public Library. Or maybe they'll be open to using, if you have a children's book, maybe they'd be interested in using your children's book for a story time. Or maybe they have, or maybe you could do a writing program, a program for writers at the library. You could volunteer to put on a program for other library patrons that are interested in writing. But you definitely have to build that relationship to see where it goes, because you'll never know where it'll take you. So that's my 2 cents. Billy, is there something that your library does to kind of partner with writers or ensure that Black writers are in the collection?
Yeah, so to piggyback off of what you said, we definitely have an independent author committee where you can submit your book at www.broward.org/library. But see, I'm a little slick, and you know, different ways to try to get the books in, because I'm outside of me doing being a librarian, I do 3 King Visions. I am getting hundreds of children's books from independent authors. So that's the #1 question they get. So at your local library, I believe Q mentioned, you have to develop a relationship with a librarian. I'm telling you, this is a game within the game. I've done a lot of slick stuff where I got them to be like, you know what? here's this volunteer application because I want you to get involved as a volunteer or become friends at the library. So you could do a program with me, do a story time with your children's book so people can see it and have eyes and be like, okay, donate some of your books to the friends in the library. So people can develop that interest in his work. It's a couple of local authors down here that have done that. Also, one of my mentors is Makiba Foster, and she works in the same library system at the African American Research Library. They're big on independent authors, especially if you're involved in the community. I cannot stress that enough. Also, there's an online resource called BiblioBoard. I know some people are kind of wary about that, but take advantage of that because I've seen independent authors get their works in the library. Besides staff picks, I'm all about you going to your community, your library, to be like, hey, I do have books, but can I give back? You're gonna have to play the game to get in there because I've seen it work. You have to get in there. I mean, I understand, you know, you just wanna get the book in the collection. That's half the battle. What's the point of having your book in the library if they just gonna throw it in the stacks? You know, I've done private events where I've done HBCU programs, partner up with the AKAs, partner up with the Deltas that had independent authors to showcase that to the community, and people purchase their books on the low. You know what I'm saying? So you have to really be engaged because once again, this is, I'm working on an initiative right now as far as, because we know as far as library administrations and different library systems, they're gatekeepers. As far as, you know, these big corporations from Baker and Taylor, Ingram, you know, they're not going to allow but so many copies. So I try to bypass that. You know, I could be like, hey, I talk to my managers and be like, hey, this book, these 3 books have been checked out and constantly being requested. We need more copies. And guess what? I holler at collection management and they make it happen. I'm not saying that's going to happen to every independent author, but why not get involved in your local library, especially during COVID? It's a lot of different resources that you need to take advantage of to prepare yourself to get your book out there. Regardless if you're a children's author or an adult author, you just don't want your book landing in the stacks. So that's just my advice.
Thank you for sharing that. And I have here also, please partner with Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. I don't know if you left them off because you hadn't partnered with them, but we have a request in the chat to also partner with them. Thank you for sharing that. We'll go ahead and start transitioning some questions. I know, especially with that last question, I'm sure some of our writers here are burning with questions to get more info on how to get their books in the local library. But I want to kick it off with a question that I received a little while ago in the chat. Let me find it here. Okay, so Brianna asks, how would one go about getting experience in a library setting for MLIS program applications? I've seen a few that want to see some type of experience, but because I work full time, I can't dedicate myself to a volunteer position or part-time position. That's interesting. I don't know if I'm familiar with MLS programs that require experience, but something, if you don't have time for a volunteer position, maybe if it's not a regular volunteer position, but maybe you have maybe one Saturday out the month, maybe if your local library does story time, maybe you can, story time's usually less, like 30 minutes, because, you know, kids have short attention spans. So maybe if you at least have a Saturday a month, maybe you can try to see if they might want help story time or even help with getting the crafts together to have story time. But I'm not familiar with schools wanting experience, but maybe one of our panelists can speak more to that. Did anybody have any advice for Brianna?
Yeah, okay, depending on what location you're at, I actually had this question maybe a couple of weeks ago from someone that was kind of interested in the field. Let's say if you want to become a media specialist or just want to fill out all fields, still volunteer online, because what we're doing with volunteers, I'm giving assignments to people, even adult volunteers, to like go over online resources, look at our collection and stuff like that to get them exposed to what we do. You don't have to volunteer a lot of time, like Shannon said, an hour once a month. Use social media. I mean, honestly, we're highly accessible as far as connecting with ideas. As far as I know from my personal experience, the way I got into librarianship was through just meeting people. Some of my best friends, we're all different librarians, and we all got into it different ways. And I got into librarianship by taking an internship. You could do an online internship. WashU has a lot of creative internships. I could check with some of my mentors with that, but it don't hurt to ask. I mean, I know volunteering is the start. I would go with that.
Yeah, I started out by volunteering. I had a full-time job, not in any field that I have any degree in or studied, but I knew I wanted to be a librarian, and I just found out I needed a master's degree to do that after finishing 2 bachelors. So I started volunteering on Saturdays, and it would be just like 2 hours on a Saturday, once a week or every 2 weeks, kind of at my leisure. And that's how I built relationships with the head librarian there, and they referred me for a job. But I know that here in Detroit, Wayne State University, which kicks out a lot of librarians here, they do require that you have some like volunteer experience. And so you can try and work with your school if they're requiring that for your degree, to ask them like, how can you supplement that with your like work time or within class time? I had a teacher who let me they knew I worked at the library after I had started volunteering. So I got to use some of my work time like for this volunteer time. And it was just a matter of like documentation. And like I had to like work within these parameters. So definitely be transparent with your professors if they are requiring that for you, so they can find some workarounds. But even if it's just an hour or 2 hours a week, that can be helpful, because it's still just about building that relationship to get that experience.
And if all else fails, switch programs. There are so many other programs that don't require the actual experience, because in an actual library setting, if you're working full time, it's hard to be able to actually volunteer unless you're doing it on a Saturday or a Sunday. So if that particular program is requiring you to have the experience, find one that doesn't. Don't let that deter you from actually doing it. So if that is your reason, then find one that doesn't require it, and then go from there. But most librarians will work with you. We always need volunteers, even if it's just for 30 minutes to put some books back on the shelf. Like, or if it's to disinfect something, they'll be willing to work with you. So find a library that's willing to work with you, or find a program that doesn't require it.
Oh, the other thing, find a library with weird hours. Detroit Public Library does like 12 to 8 days sometimes, and then they do 10 to 6, and they do weird Saturday, Sundays. So sometimes not a public library, but like a special library that might have some weird hours, you might be able to swing in and get that time there too.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much.
That was helpful for you, Brianna?
Yes, it was, yes. And also, because I
it's lagging a little bit.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're coming through clear.
Okay, because I live in Fairfax County, and there's like a lot of libraries that have those weird hours where it's like 12 to 8, 10 to 5, 6, sometimes closed. So
yeah, so that might be something to consider if you are free in the evenings. Maybe they could use some help then. Fairfax, that's not too far from me. I know someone who works over there. In the area as well. And what programs were you looking at?
I was looking at Catholic University of America, because I already have an MFA, so they waive 6 credit hours from the program.
Oh, that's awesome.
If you apply. And then I was looking at North Carolina Central, just because that's the only HBCU that has an ALA accredited MLS program.
Go ahead. You know, we flying easy around here. Go ahead and apply. They'll take care of you.
Well, that's awesome. Well, we already. I'm going to say that everything's going to wind up successful, and you're going to wind up where you need to be. So that's awesome. Do we have any other questions from our audience that you all would like to pose to our panelists? I'm going back through the chat to make sure I didn't miss anyone. I don't see any. How about you all share with us, this is for the panelists, what is you all's favorite part of your job? Maybe this will help people like Brianna who are looking to get into the field, or maybe somebody else on the call that may be interested in getting in the field. What is your favorite part about being a librarian?
I want to say the light bulb. You ever work with that patron that just don't seem to get it, and it's like they're making it harder for themselves than it really is. And you sit down and you talk with them and you walk them through the steps, and then eventually like this light bulb goes off, and it's like that is like the most enjoyable thing to see, whether it's age 2 to age 82. And I really am partial to my older patrons because I like to see them learn the technology, because that's the way of the world now. So either they have to learn it or they get left behind. So to see that light bulb, that aha moment, oh, I finally got it, it's the best feeling in the world. I feel like I can help nobody else all day. If I manage to get that one person that I have successfully helped, and I feel like I made a difference in that person.
Yeah, that's pretty hard to top. I think I like this, for me, like you've already heard a little bit about my studying history. I'm kind of all over the place. And for me, I like it when multiple things come together in like perfect cohesion, right? So for me, it's about making resources into opportunities. So like if someone comes in and they're like, man, I read all these books about XYZ. I'm like, oh, how can we make XYZ off the page and make it in real life at the library? How can we make this opportunity where other people will then want to go back to that book, but then like you have the next step to like bridge it into something else. And so one of my programs at the library, we teach kids coding because they were always playing Roblox on the computers all day, wouldn't leave, wouldn't eat lunch. And so we started teaching them coding with Raspberry Pis. And then we transitioned that into a like code your garden club outside to like transition them from like playing a game and being a consumer to being creators and then going outside also. So I just like to like transition it, like have an idea, find a resource, and then make it experience so that it's memorable. And that way people don't get confused that libraries are just books, because they have had now a whole experience.
I think it's two things for me. I always put myself in the position of the patron. I'm all about creating that experience when you come into the library. I think it's no greater feeling when a family comes in and they just moved into town and you asking them to apply for a library card, and you're exposing them to all departments, all the resources, especially with the summer learning program going on. That is the greatest feeling in the world. But as a professional, I feel like being innovative as far as creating engaging programs and content for the community. For instance, during COVID, when we were doing curbside assistance from March through November before we opened up to the public, I'm like, okay, what is a way we can get these books circulating? So I came up with an idea that I got approved by library administration and our friends of the library, where I wanted to enhance the curbside assistance. So I came up with this I Heart Pembroke Pines program where they had a stamp card, and for every 10 books they checked out, they got a free book from the friends of the library. Okay, that sounds cool. So at the end, it's a 2-month program. The patrons with the most completed stamp cards, we gave away 20 gift cards from Publix, Chili's, Target, because I'm like, it's easy to get kids involved with the library, but what do adults like? Everybody like to eat. So I'm like, I got that approved, and that was the biggest thing. Within a 2-month period, we circulated over 2,600 library materials via curbside. So it's always about being creative to get the community involved, and that is no greater feeling.
I agree with all these sentiments. All of the things you all mentioned are a lot of my favorite parts of the job. I'm probably most like Walani in when she was speaking of the light bulb moment. That is what I enjoy a lot as well. I don't get to interact with people. Well, now I do because of COVID, but it's not as many people coming in the building. But pre-COVID, managers, a lot of times, like I tell people, we have to do the unfun stuff. So as a manager, I don't get to interact with the public as much as I used to when I was a public services staff member out on the floor all the time. But that would be one of my favorite things is showing people how to use a computer, helping somebody with their resume, helping somebody learn how to use Word, helping somebody set up a Gmail account. Because I always told people, being a librarian is like being a teacher, but you don't have to grade papers because you get to teach people stuff all day, but you don't have to worry about grading papers when you get home and passing and failing people. So I definitely say that's one of my favorite parts of the job as well. So I think that's a good place to end. Does any other people in the audience have any other questions for us today before our panelists leave us? Okay. Do our panelists have any closing words that you all want to say?
Yes, I want to let the authors and writers know in the group that if you're really trying to get your read count up, and that's not the word I'm trying to look for. I lost it just that quick. But find what your area likes. It was one of the things when you come and talk to your librarians, we can kind of tell you if this particular book didn't work well for you this time, you might need to try to write in a different area or write different things. I have found that our patrons, they like the ratchet books, the ones that it's going somebody gonna die, they gonna get shot. There is absolutely no real life in it. They want to take a break from reality, so they want nonsense, they want shenanigans. So if you're in a fiction area and that particular book that you wrote was too heavy for them, we can tell you, okay, well, that didn't work for you, so let's try this writing style. Most of the people read on a 5th grade level. So if you have ambidextrous in your book and they can't read that, you might have to dumb down your wording to get your book until you build your clientele, until you build your reading population, to you reach out to more people. So that's just one of the things I was thinking about as we were talking, that sometimes you may have to switch it up just a little bit just to get the people to read you. And once you get that set of people build, then you can go ahead and start back to writing what you wanted to write from the beginning, because now you've already built your population.
For my my children's authors, I get a lot of children's books every week. If you are a children's author for little ones, send that book my way, 3 King Visions. I'll bring it to life. I'm a cook. But I would highly suggest to understand your age range. Sometimes I get books that authors send me and they want it read for story time, but it's too wordy. Like Willana mentioned, like it's hard to understand, but converse with people, because understanding your age range is going to dictate the interest level as far as the book. Speak to the librarians, reach out to me, reach out to other librarians, and kind of seek their input as far as what age range your book would be. Because and I think we should have maybe more panels talking about that, on how to put your book together, as far as trying to cater to different age groups, because I feel like that may be some of the biggest deterrents as far as holding a writer back. Because and it's all about positive feedback to make your book better. So that's what I would encourage.
I would agree with both of those things. I think sometimes you have the sentiment that's there and it doesn't actually hit the way you think it will. You know how like sometimes in your head you're thinking this thing and then you say it out loud and then you'd be like, nah, that's not right. That's why you need to build these relationships with librarians. I don't think people know this, but we are experts in our field for a reason. We're experts in community, right? And we're experts in the materials that we push out. We spend time researching and looking through that stuff. So definitely utilize them, because we can help you kind of work through some of those growing pains of things that you think may work well, but not actually land well in your community. So that would be my 2 cents. And thank you to my fellow panelists for making me feel like a bobblehead and nodding along with you guys the whole time.
Yes, thank you to all of our wonderful panelists. Thank you to our audience for joining us for the Black Librarians Speak Out session of the 2021 Black Writers Weekend. Thank you to Tamika for inviting us back once again. And I hope you all enjoy the rest of your conference. Go out and be great. Bye.
Bye.
Everyone.